I've done a lot of firewood videos, cutting trees, splitting, stacking, and everything else. One thing I haven't mentioned and I would encourage you to do is to split your firewood shed into at least 2 different bays, more depending on your situation. For years I didn't do that here in my firewood shed, and it created extra work for me. So right here I have a section of firewood that was not burned this year. It's been sitting in here for a couple years. I have runners here that splits my firewood shed, and then here's the spot that I burnt out this year. So when I come into next year's season, I know all of this has been in here for 2 years and it's going to be completely dry, and we're not going to have any issues with it being dry enough. Another reason that you might want to do this is, especially in my scenario, this firewood shed will hold about 7 cords, and we're not huge firewood burners. The winters aren't too terribly cold around here, so we might have burned half of that. And in my scenario, we load the firewood from up there in the driveway, and then we stack it up here. So when I didn't split the shed in half, I would burn about halfway back in the shed, and then the next year there was no efficient way to put firewood into the shed. So we'd move everything forward that wasn't burnt, and then we'd start loading the stuff up into the back. And so that got very tiresome year after year. So now by splitting it in half, we almost always burn the whole, the half that is designated for that year. And so when we dump firewood back there, you can see it on the ground. That's all firewood that was dumped out of my dump trailer, out of the driveway that's up there, and then we'll load it up and we'll start stacking it right here and move our way back. But we can have an efficient run up here. If we hadn't done that, again, we'd have firewood stacked back there that needs to be moved forward. And even if you don't load in the back and then bring it to the front like I do, if you are burning from the front to back and then you don't burn it all away, then you have a bunch more firewood coming in the next year. Then the next thing, you're putting the less cured wood or the wetter wood in the front, and then it's moving. So you may never get to the really dry cured wood in the back. So it's best to kind of keep cycling through it year after year after year. Another reason I like to have firewood bays separate in my firewood shed is, in years past, I used to cut, split, and stack firewood, stack it out in single rows, southern exposure, to let it dry out all summer. Then I'd move it again, not knowing if I was going to burn it that year or not. Now I still like to get it cured some out there, not soaking wet, but if I need to get it out of the way and I don't want to stack it, I'm getting older, I don't want to stack it out on the property and then bring it up here. I could put it in this section over here, which I know is 2 years away, and it's going to be pretty dry. It's going to be plenty cured by the time I burn it. Also, not only do I not have to stack it twice, but I've got some development and some projects going on my property, and it always seems like I'll stack wood over here thinking it's out of the way, and then I've got to move it for some reason or another. But if I have different bays in my firewood shed, then I can go ahead and have firewood that's not completely cured, put it in here, and knowing it's going to be there for a couple years before I burn it. And now it's not sitting on my property in the way of another project. Thanks for joining me on the Flanagan Homestead, where Christmas trees are my business, teaching including horticulture is my job, and outdoor projects are my passion. And I'm going to split up some more of the firewood that was in my shed for my firewood stand. And by the way, if you have not tried the bungee cord method of holding the wood together while you hit it several times and split it and hold it together, it really does work.